It was a cold, still evening when Emma stepped out of the Uber and stared up at the weathered Victorian house. The air around it seemed heavier, quieter, as though the world stopped at the edge of the crooked iron gate. The house had stood abandoned for nearly 40 years, yet the windows gleamed as if recently polished. Something about it made the hair on her neck prickle. She wasn't superstitious, but there was an old, unsettling story attached to this place. And tonight she planned to get it all on film. The locals called it the Mason House. 40 years ago, the entire Mason family vanished without a trace. Not a single soul had seen them leave. Not neighbors, not friends, not even the mailman who delivered letters right to their doorstep until they piled up on the porch. When the police broke in, they found the dinner table set, clothes in the closets, and water still running in the upstairs sink. It was as if the family had simply vanished in the middle of living their lives. No bodies, no evidence, just silence. Emma, an aspiring YouTuber, was drawn to the unsolved mystery. Her horror exploration channel had just hit 10,000 subscribers, and this was her biggest story yet. Armed with 2 GoPros, a flashlight, and a digital recorder, she planned to spend the night inside and document everything. She didn't believe in ghosts, at least not yet. The gate squeaked as she pushed it open. Rusted chains rattled against the bars like bones clinking together. Gravel crunched under her boots as she walked up the short path. The front door stood slightly ajar, as if waiting for her. She hesitated. There was no wind, no sound. Even the birds seemed to avoid this place. She stepped inside. The smell hit her first. Dust, rot, and something faintly metallic. She coughed and covered her mouth, clicking on her flashlight. The beam cut through the darkness, revealing a grand foyer with cracked marble tiles and a chandelier cloaked in cobwebs. On the wall hung faded family portraits, smiling parents and 2 young children, their eyes eerily lifelike. One of the children, a boy, seemed to stare directly at her. She ignored the chill crawling up her spine and began filming. "Hey guys," she whispered into the camera. "It's Emma from Shadow Seeker. Tonight, we're exploring the infamous Mason House. Rumor has it, they never left. Let's find out why." As she moved through the ground floor, everything looked untouched. The furniture was dusty but intact. The dining table still held a set of antique plates, now dulled with time. A child's toy truck sat in the middle of the hallway, its red paint flaking off. Emma stepped over it and made her way to the staircase. The creaking wood groaned under her weight as she ascended. She filmed each step carefully, whispering commentary to her audience. When she reached the 2nd floor, she felt the temperature drop. The hallway stretched out before her, lined with closed doors on both sides. She picked the one on the left. It was a child's bedroom. Blue wallpaper peeling from the walls, a small bed with a faded dinosaur comforter, and a bookshelf filled with decaying storybooks. The window was shut, but she could hear something outside. Soft rhythmic tapping. She turned toward the sound, but there was nothing. She turned back, and the toy truck from downstairs was sitting at the foot of the bed. Her breath caught in her throat. She hadn't brought it with her. She'd left it in the hall. "Maybe I'm just tired," she whispered, though her voice trembled. She backed out of the room, keeping her eyes on the toy. She checked the other rooms, each one silent, lifeless. The master bedroom held a large canopy bed with mold-covered curtains. The bathroom mirror was cracked down the center, like a jagged smile. Emma returned to the hallway. That's when she heard it. Voice, very faint. Child's giggle. She froze. Came from the attic. Her fingers were numb as she reached for the pull cord hanging from the ceiling. The ladder creaked down slowly. She lifted her camera and began to climb, heart pounding so loud it echoed in her ears. The attic smelled worse than anywhere else. Mildew, decay, and something almost sweet like rotting fruit. She swept her flashlight across the room and screamed. There were dolls, hundreds of them, lining the walls, propped up on shelves, sitting in chairs. Each one was different, yet their eyes looked identical. Dark, glassy, me. She backed up, unable to stop filming. "Guys," Think someone's been here. I don't know how old these are, but this wasn't in any report. Her voice cracked. As she turned to leave, something whispered her name. Emma! She whirled around. No one was there. Ran. Down the ladder. Down the hallway. She stopped in the foyer, panting, trying to steady her hands. That's when she saw the footprints. Small, wet footprints on the dusty floor. They weren't there before. They led from the staircase to the kitchen door. Emma swallowed hard. She didn't want to follow them, but she had to. This was proof. Real evidence. She opened the door. The kitchen was dim, the moonlight through the window casting pale blue shadows across the floor. The refrigerator door stood open slightly, as if someone had just been there, and the footprints ended in front of it. She slowly approached. The door creaked as she pulled it wide. Me. Then the lights flickered, and she felt it. A presence behind her. She spun around, flashlight darting wildly. No one. Her breath came in gasps. She backed away from the fridge and tripped over something. She hit the ground hard, pain shooting through her hip. The flashlight rolled away, and for a moment she was swallowed by darkness. She scrambled to grab it. Her hand brushed against something soft. Flesh. She screamed and leapt back, flashlight beam landing on a shape lying beside her. It was a mannequin, dressed in old-fashioned clothes. Its face was blank, except for a crude smile carved into the surface. Emma backed away slowly, her body trembling. She turned to leave, and the front door slammed shut with a violent bang. She ran to it, yanking at the knob. Another sound. Stairs. A step. She wasn't alone. Her camera caught every second as she staggered into the living room, searching for another exit. The windows were boarded. She tried the back door, also locked. Her breaths came in shallow gasps. The sound of laughter echoed down the stairs again. Louder this time. Not just a child. Two voices, then a third. She pointed her flashlight toward the stairs. Something was coming down. Step by step. Emma held her breath. Then she saw them. Boy, a girl, and a woman. Their faces pale, their eyes black, but they smiled. And Emma understood. The Masons never left the house. Because they never died. They were still here. And now she was too. Emma stumbled backward as the figures descended the stairs. Slow, deliberate, unnatural in their grace. The boy's head tilted at an odd angle. His limbs stiff like a puppet. The girl clutched a porcelain doll, its face cracked, the eyes missing. And the woman, presumably the mother, moved without blinking, her smile frozen like a wax figure. They didn't speak, but their eyes, if you could call them that, followed Emma with perfect precision. Her flashlight flickered. No, 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 she whispered, slapping it with her palm. The light returned for a moment, just long enough to see that the hallway behind her was now lined with more mannequins. They hadn't been there before. Each one had the same carved smile, the same empty face. She bolted for the nearest room, slamming the door shut behind her. It was a study, bookshelves covered in thick dust, a writing desk in the corner. She pushed a chair under the door handle, hoping it would hold. The moment she caught her breath, she yanked out her phone. No signal. Her hands trembled as she opened the camera app, still recording. I'm trapped, she whispered into the lens. There's something wrong with this house. The family. They're still here, but they're not alive. Not really. If anyone finds this, please don't come here. Leave the house alone. A creak interrupted her. Came from the bookshelf. She turned, flashlight aimed straight ahead. One of the shelves had shifted slightly. Emma hesitated, then stepped closer. With a trembling hand, she pressed against the wood. It gave way easily, revealing a narrow passage behind it, dark, damp, and lined with cobwebs. She glanced at the door. Shadows moved beneath the crack. Whispering started, faint and rhythmic, like a lullaby hummed through broken teeth. She had no choice. Emma slipped into the hidden passage, pulling the shelf closed behind her. The darkness was absolute. She crawled forward, feeling the walls with her hands, the flashlight barely illuminating more than a foot ahead. The passage twisted downward, as if leading deep into the earth. The air grew colder. The stone under her palms felt wet, like something had bled into it long ago and never dried. Finally, it opened into a low underground chamber. She gasped. The walls were covered in writing, scratched into the stone with what looked like fingernails. Repeated phrases looped over each other. "We never left. She won't let us go. She watches always." In the center of the room was a child's bed. On it lay two small skeletons, dressed in clothes from the 80s. Their arms were around each other. A woman's skeleton sat beside them in a rocking chair, as if watching them sleep. Emma couldn't breathe. The Masons had died. But what had returned to the house wasn't them. She took a step back, and the door slammed shut behind her. She screamed, spinning around. The skeletons didn't move, but the rocking chair began to creak. Back and forth, back and forth. "Who are you?" she cried out, desperate now. "What do you want?" A voice answered. Not from the chamber. From inside her head. "You came to see us. Now you'll never leave." The walls began to close in. The floor pulsed beneath her feet like a living thing. The air thickened, humming with a low frequency that made her teeth ache. She dropped to her knees, covering her ears. Then everything went still. Dead still. When she opened her eyes again, she was standing in the foyer. Daylight streamed through the windows. Everything was clean, bright, as if the house had never been abandoned. Emma blinked. Her phone was in her hand. The flashlight was off. Her camera app showed a perfectly normal living room, nothing out of the ordinary. She frowned and turned in a slow circle. The door behind her was wide open. Birds sang outside. Car passed in the distance. She stumbled forward, heart racing. Maybe it was a dream. Hallucination. But then she saw her reflection in the glass of the hallway mirror. It wasn't hers. The face staring back was still hers, but paler. The eyes were hollow, darkened around the edges like bruises. Her mouth was curled into a small, unnatural smile. Her head tilted slightly to one side. And behind her, no one. But she felt breath on her neck. She ran out the door, out the gate, and down the street without looking back. Her car was gone. The Uber app didn't work. She flagged down a passing truck, and the driver, a kind-faced man in his 60s, asked no questions. He simply drove her back into town. "Where'd you come from?" he asked eventually, glancing at her through the rearview mirror. "The Mason house," she said, voice barely audible. The man stiffened. "That place burned down 40 years ago." Emma's head snapped up. No, I was just inside it. Last night. I filmed everything." He shook his head slowly. "Sweetheart, I don't know what you were inside of, but that house has been gone a long time. It was a huge fire. They say the whole family died upstairs. Nobody ever rebuilt. Just rubble now. Nothing left." Emma pulled up her phone, opened the camera roll. But every video was gone. Every picture. Only one file remained. It was a still photo of her, standing with the Mason family, smiling. 2 weeks passed. Emma didn't post any new videos. Her subscribers grew worried, posting concerned comments on her last upload. Then one day a new video appeared on her channel, titled, "They Never Left the House, Full Investigation." It showed a clean, untouched Mason house. Emma cheerfully walking through the rooms. There were no ghosts, no whispers, no mannequins. Just an upbeat house tour like nothing had ever gone wrong. So, if you watched closely, in the mirror reflections, in the corners of the frame, sometimes just for a split second, you could see something standing behind her, watching, smiling. Viewers noticed strange things too. Their screens flickered during the video. One viewer said they heard someone whisper their name through the speakers. Another claimed they saw Emma standing outside their window that night, just smiling, head tilted slightly. And others, they went to the house to prove it was just a story, and they never came back. Weeks later, A new family moved into the property where the old Mason house once stood. A newly built home, all modern and clean. The family included 2 children, a boy and a girl. They laughed and played in the yard under the warm spring sun. Until one day, the girl came running into the kitchen. "Mommy," she said, pointing toward the stairs. "There's a lady up there." Her mother frowned. "What lady, honey?" "The one with the camera." She smiled at me. The parents searched the house. No one was there. But that night, the family heard footsteps in the attic. And laughter. Distant. They called the police. When the officers arrived, they found the house empty. Dinner still on the table. Lights still on. And in the hallway mirror, the whole family stood smiling. Behind them, Emma, still filming, still smiling. Because they never left the house. Now, neither will you.